A well-known fact about experienced and avid reloaders is that some of us keep way too many powders in our inventory. It gets so bad that we end up keeping dozens of pounds, or some people even keep hundreds of pounds of powder that we'll just never use. This video is not directed at those lost souls who will probably never change. This video is directed at the new reloader who wants to load hunting or target ammunition for their rifle, but are confused about what powders they need to stock up on. For hunting and target rifle loads, you could keep 5 powders in inventory and load everything from 223 Remington up to the mighty 600 Nitro Express. These powders are H4895, Varget, H4350, H4831 Shortcut, and H1000. You'll also notice that all of these powders are Hodgdon Extreme powders, which are single base powders with great temperature stability, lot-to-lot consistency, and they result in very precise loads. .4895 was the first powder that Hodgdon ever sold. .4895 was a military powder used to load 30-06 ammo with 150 grain bullets. In the 1940s, just after World War II, Bruce Hodgdon bought a huge amount of surplus .4895 from the military to sell to civilians, and it was just an instant hit. In the totality of powders, H4895 would be considered a medium burn rate powder, but in the context of high power rifle loads, H4895 is kind of a faster rifle powder, perfect for light for caliber bullets and cartridges with a generous case volume to bore area ratio. I use H4895 personally on my loads for 223, my light 30-06 loads, my light 375 H&H loads, my light 416 Rem Mag loads, and for all of my 458 lot loads. I believe that H4895 is a mandatory powder to have in your inventory when a faster powder is called for. Out of all the powders that go out of stock frequently, H4895 is often the hardest powder to find these days. When Hodgdon started selling AR-2208 as Varget in 1995, it took the precision shooting community by absolute storm. It was by far the most temperature stable and consistent powder that reloaders had ever seen up to that point. It instantly started setting world records in the competition world. It was so foundational to the shooting world that competition cartridges were engineered from the ground up around the use of Varget as a propellant. It didn't take long for hunters to latch on to Varget as a propellant as well. It didn't take hunters long to figure out that this was a very accurate and temperature stable powder for extreme conditions. I use Varget a great deal and probably find it to be my most versatile powder right now. I personally use Varget when I load 22-250, 6mm Dasher, my 7mm 08 loads, 308 Winchester, 35 Wayland, 375 H&H, and 416 Remington Magnum. Varget's use spans cartridges from varmints all the way up to the largest dangerous game in the world, including elephant. Quite honestly, if I was starting all over again, I didn't own any rifles, I didn't have any preconceived biases on cartridges. If I was starting from scratch right now, I would plan my whole arsenal around the use of Varget. 4350 powder has been around since 1940, but it's not even close to being the same powder as the H4350 that we use today. When Hodgdon started selling AR 2209 as H4350, it became a completely different powder, but in a really good way. Temperature stability and copper removal properties were added to this powder. They also reduced the size of the kernels to improve metering. The new H4350 quickly became a favorite powder among serious reloaders, but H4350 became a real household name in 2008 when the 6.5 Creedmoor took the shooting world by storm, and Hornady printed the load data with H4350 right on the box for you, so you could duplicate that load yourself. The Creedmoor brought millions of new shooters into reloading, and they all wanted H4350, which caused huge shortages of this powder back then. H4350 is right in the middle of the rifle powder burn rate chart. It's pretty much the epitome of a medium burn rate powder. I personally load, 165 to 180 grain 30-06 loads with this. And, it's perfect for cartridges like the 6.5 Creedmoor. What I also find is when I'm developing a load for Varget and maybe the barrel, maybe I think the barrel could do a little bit better, I'll often move up to H4350 and develop loads with this to see if things improve. And sometimes it does. .4831 was the second powder that Bruce Hodgdon sold to the public. The powder was completely changed in the 1990s when AR 2213 became H4831. And that H4831 had great temperature stability, and it had a copper remover added to the formula. The problem with H4831 was that the kernels were just too long for metering, and your loads became compressed too quickly. Then, in the early 2000s, Hodgdon changed the powder to H4831 shortcut, with the SC standing for shortcut. H4831 SC meters very well and pretty much solved the compressed load issue with this powder. It's a great powder for heavier for caliber bullets or cartridges with poor case volume to bore area ratio. I personally use H4831 shortcut when I load 25-06, 270 Winchester, some of the lighter 7mm Magnum loads, most 30 caliber Magnums, and the mighty 338 Win Mag. In the 1980s, many competition shooters falsely believed that the faster you drove a bullet, the more precise it would be. Even though we now know that that isn't true, H1000 was specifically developed to drive loads faster for the competition shooting fad of the day. When that fad quickly faded, hunters started embracing H1000 for their Magnum hunting loads, and that's a popular use for this powder today. H1000 is the slowest rifle powder that I personally keep in my inventory. It's an extreme powder with great temperature stability and a copper remover in it, but it's just too slow for many common hunting and competition cartridges today. H1000 is just absolutely famous for great loads with the Weatherby Magnums, the Remington Ultra Magnums, the 470 Nitro Express, cartridges like that. I personally use H1000 for the heavier 7mm mag and 30 caliber Magnum loads. And of course, I use it for the mighty 505 Gibbs that I reload for. So although H1000 is useful, I don't use H1000 very much because I don't really like the big, fast overbore magnums. Now let's talk about powder availability for a couple minutes. Powder availability fluctuates around political election cycles, wars, big government orders, and raw material shortages. This has been an unfortunate reality for reloaders for probably the last 25 years. Before the homers chime in and say, I can't get any powder right now, Desert Dog. As of today, I'm making this video, July 28th, 2025. All of the powders on this desk right now are currently in stock on Hodgdon's website. And if a powder does go out of stock, the website lets you put yourself on a notification list, and they actually email you when it's back in stock again. So stop crying and order the powder that you need. And if it's out of stock, then just get on the notification list and order it when it comes back into stock. That's what all experienced reloaders do. In fact, I just ordered some 48.95 yesterday when I checked the website for this to make this video. So don't be lazy and make excuses if you don't have the powders you want. You know, I just explained to you how to obtain them. So these are the 5 powders I've settled on to load over a dozen cartridges that I use for my rifles. Really, I could possibly remove H1000 out of my inventory and only have 4 powders to do everything. And like I stated earlier, if I wanted to kind of start all over again, I could just revolve all of my reloading around a single powder like Varget, and maybe stock some H4352 as an alternative powder. And before the newbies start flooding this video comment section about their favorite ball powder, note that I hate ball powders. I won't use them. Yes, they meter good in powder throws, but I haven't used powder throws in 20 years. Ball powders are very temperature sensitive, which I don't like. They're inconsistent from lot to lot, and they're very dirty when you shoot them in your rifle. You know, I might be hunting in 100 plus degree temperatures in Africa, in the desert, or even the A-zone opener here in California, where last year it was 111 degrees while I was deer hunting. You know, I also might be hunting in freezing conditions in Alaska or Montana. So I need powders that excel in these environments and provide consistent precision and low standard deviations for me. And these Hodgdon Extreme powders do that for me. So rather than scouring the internet for powder recommendations or just blindly buying powders off of store shelves, exercise some constraint and limit yourself to a handful of really versatile and high quality powders. Well, I want to thank you for watching, and as always, good hunting.